marching towards the big day, the coronation of King Charles. All over the country, his subjects are getting ready. In the town of Maidenhead outside London, they even want to block off a street for the occasion.
So we'll pop that there and then the road closed.
The Queen was a wonderful role model, and I think Charles will be good as well.
It's big, it's a big celebration, and we're looking forward to it.
But not everyone shares the excitement. Ben Clinton and David McAlpine are members of the Republicanism movement who want to abolish the monarchy.
Why should we not have the chance to vote for our own head of state? Why should we have to put up with a family that has been unelected, that no one can aspire to be head of state in this country?
Republicans also argue that the monarchy is expensive. An investigation by a British newspaper estimates the king's private fortune alone at nearly £2 billion. At a time when some Britons can barely feed their families, Republicans say it's unreasonable.
My lords, pray be seated.
It's this enormous privilege and unearned wealth and position. I think that that generally it reinforces the whole class system. You know, it's like at the apex of class in this country, which is a severe issue. And so no one can really get to the top.
Charles has met with more protests than the late Queen. But he doesn't seem too bothered by egg throwers or by demonstrators who opposed him on a recent journey to northern England, holding up placards with their slogan, "Not my king." Back in Maidenhead, republicanism isn't on the agenda. Instead, children are painting royal carriages, while the adults decide what to serve with their tea.
Scones down as well. Jam. Scones.
They say Charles is doing a good job.
He understands the problems that the country has, and he understands the strength that the country has.
Because Britain's always had a monarchy, it's a history, it's a part of the structure of the United Kingdom. I think not to have it, I think, would be quite detrimental for the country.
Charles, Camilla and the royal family still have the approval of the majority of Britons. But polls show that younger people are more sceptical of the royals than ever before. Republicans hope to profit from this in the future and to shake the foundations of the monarchy.
Correspondent Birgit Mass will be there and joins us now from London. Welcome, Birgit. Less than a day to go. What is the atmosphere like?
The atmosphere here, Phil, is very, very jolly. The sun has come out, the king has come out. I've been here while the king went on a walkabout and the crowds were really ecstatic. So behind me there are people in tents. There are really rows of tents. I was here 2 days ago and people had already started putting their camping gear up and, you know, waiting for this big moment tomorrow. And it's very, very friendly. People are making friends. Some are establishing old connections. I speak to some ladies who came over from the US, and they incidentally were here next to the same group of other ladies that come from the north of England, so they bumped into each other again. And yeah, a lot of people are really looking forward to this day tomorrow, and there's a lot of hardship. There are not that many toilets, and the weather has been changeable. There have been some showers, and people nevertheless they're just having a good time. And all across the country, really, there are a lot of people celebrating. There are street parties, almost 4,000 street parties registered in honor of the king. So many people really very much looking forward. Others not too bothered, but well, the royal family, the king, I think, will be hoping that at least they will be turning on the television tomorrow when it's time for this tradition that harks back several centuries.
And is this an important event for Britain?
It is an important event because it's really about how is King Charles able to renew the monarchy. It is a connection with Britain's glorious past, as many people see it, but we're also seeing that younger Britons are continuing to question the monarchy. So all in all, the monarchy still has a broad support amongst British people, but it has been falling in the last decades, and particularly younger people are not as enthusiastic as older Britons. So while King Charles, with the ceremony tomorrow, it's going to be very religious ceremony involving centuries-old symbols, an orb and scepters and a golden carriage from the 18th century. So really a lot of regalia from the past and this connection to the past. But how is he able to make the monarchy fit for the future and to persuade the British people that it's worth having? Bearing in mind that the British monarchy is the only one in Europe that still has a coronation ceremony. So for the British royal family and for Prince Charles himself, it's going to be a very, very important day tomorrow. And then he's got his work cut out in order to persuade the British people that he's here to stay and that the monarchy is here to stay for the next decades and possibly centuries.
OK, thank you for that. Birgit Mass in London. Now, Britain's King Charles has taken time to chat with some of the thousands of fans lining the streets outside Buckingham Palace for his coronation. The King went walkabout with his son and daughter-in-law, Prince William, and the Duchess of Cambridge. Some well-wishers have camped out for days in central London to get a front-row seat. The coronation will be the biggest ceremonial event in Britain for 70 years. Well, the crown jewels will be seen by a global TV audience of billions during the coronation, but a long-running dispute over the precious stones has flared up again. Some activists in South Africa say several of the diamonds were looted and must be returned.
This is the Cullinan diamond in its rough form. It's the biggest gem-quality diamond ever mined, at over 3,100 carats. Discovered in 1905 in Transvaal in present-day South Africa, during British colonial rule. The Transvaal government bought the diamond for the equivalent of 15 million euros today. In 1907, the uncut diamond was presented as a gift to Britain's King Edward VII. The stone then went to Amsterdam to be cut into gems. The biggest are now part of the British royal scepter and imperial state crown. Others are on the crown that Queen Consort Camilla will wear at the coronation. And still more are featured in other royal jewellery. For years, however, there have been calls to return the Cullinan diamonds to South Africa, where the story began.
Well, let's pick up that story with our correspondent, Privilege Musvanhiri in Cape Town. Welcome, Privilege. So, help us out. If these jewels were gifted to the British monarchy rather than looted by the British, what's behind the calls for them to be returned?
Phil, I would say that there are a lot of historical complexities that surround the call for the return of the diamonds. Yes, of course, some may claim that they were acquired and gifted to the British monarchy, but you would want to look at the condition at which these diamonds were acquired. These were oppressive times. And the gifting, of course, yes, the Transvaal government might have bought the diamonds, the Cullinan diamond, and gifted it to the British monarch. But the argument is that when these diamonds were acquired, it was during oppressive times. That's the reason why these growing calls and the sentiments for the return of the diamonds is growing. And also, if you look at what other Western governments have done, they've returned artifacts, they've returned ornaments that were acquired during colonial times. And therefore, the South Africans are also looking at that and saying that the diamonds must be retained as a gesture of recouping what was acquired during times that there was oppression when these diamonds were acquired.
Right. So given that contentious background, shall we say, has coronation fever reached South Africa?
I would say if you go in the streets, if you go in the communities, yes or no, you might not even notice that there is a coronation tomorrow. It's a moment of reflection for some communities when they look at the colonial past. It's 70 years we are seeing the passage of time now. King Charles III is going to be the coronation happening tomorrow. So It's mixed. Some, it's just another day, but for some, it's a moment of reflection of the colonial legacy that the British monarchy has within this region.
OK, thank you for that privilege. Our correspondent Privilege Amos van Heery in Cape Town, South Africa.